Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Ireland Chapter of PMI for another one of our lunchtime series of webinars. I'm delighted to welcome Baz from Wellingtone back. We have had run in the past a number of quite popular webinars on the topic of the Microsoft tools, and Baz always likes to include a bit of a demonstration as well. Baz, thanks a million for joining us again.
Thank you for having me again, by the way, Katrina, and hello to everyone that's tuned in.
We've actually got a good group of people today. We've got about 50 people registered with us, so there's quite a few people to listen in and watch as well. So, like I was saying, it is a popular area. It's a popular subject. I think most of us have some Microsoft tools in our repertoire, in our home or our work office, and it's interesting to find out how these tools work and how they can help us. So, in particular today, if maybe you're running a PMO or you're part of a PMO and you're interested in the PPM solution, listen in and watch the demo. If you've got any questions for Baz, pop them into the comments. If we've got time, we'll take them towards the end. And if not, we'll share those with Baz for him to follow up on later on. He also has a small few mentee questions for us today. So to keep us all engaged and keep us moving along with the webinar at pace. So I will be chatting to everyone in the comments, and I will be running the mentee poll as well, which you can see here. But for now, what I will do is I will hand over to you, Baz. I'll let you kick off, and I will run the mentee poll in the background.
That's amazing. Thank you ever so much, Katrina. So if you bear with me, I'm just going to get my presentation started off and share my screen. So let me start sharing. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen, and my slide deck should now be popping up. So, okay, let's get this started. So thank you again for having me, Katrina, and thank you to everyone that's tuned in today. Hopefully you'll find the next 30 to 40 minutes really, really entertaining and quite informative. So within this session, I'm going to be showcasing a solution called Power PPM. So this is the NextGen PPM solution that's built on the Microsoft Power Platform, and it's available in Office 365. And it's been designed to empower the future PMO, as you can see by the T-shirt, or any of the departments really, with an extensive feature set to help them to get better visibility of their project portfolios and better control over them as well. In the next session, which I think is penciled in for February, I'll be showcasing Team Planner, the resource planning solution, as well as Time for Teams, the time registration app, and Power Hub, which enables you to get more detailed insights via Power BI, such as trend analysis. So again, the focus for today very much on Power PPM. Let's just draw back the curtains now and get onto the agenda, and we'll keep this part really brief. So I'm going to start with a very quick intro to Wellingtone. So if you don't know us, that will help enlighten you really as to who we are, what we do, and the kind of organizations we work with as well. I'm then going to provide an overview of Power PPM through a few slides, just to showcase what feature set it does actually provide out of the box. And then I'll move on to a live demonstration. And of course, we can then talk about next steps beyond that. So as I mentioned before, a bit about Wellingtone. We started way back now in 2001. This is actually our 20th anniversary year. And when we first started off, it was purely as a project management consulting firm based in Windsor. We've now got offices in Dublin, in Ireland, and we also have offices in Spain as well. So that's us. And we offer a wide variety of services that span consulting, technology, and training, with a real focus on project and work management. You can find out more about us by going to wellington.co.uk. And there you can read more about our technology services, the APM accredited services that we provide. We also conduct a wide range of P3M3 maturity assessment exercises as well. So please do go and check those out. In terms of clients, we've worked with a really eclectic mix of organizations over the last 20 or so years. So do again, go and follow that link at the bottom, and there you'll find quite a few case studies. So Katrina, I think that does bring us to the mentee poll and the set of questions that we have. So I really want to know, do you currently use Microsoft 365 or Office 365? Again, it's the same thing, it's just terminology. And do you have access to Microsoft Power Apps within your organization? So Microsoft Power Apps is the app building solution from Microsoft. is that something that you've already got access to? Now, this could be the free version that you get bundled as part of Office 365, but preferably the paid-for version that gives you a bit more power. And last but not least, do you within your team or organization use a recognized PPM/work management solution? So these are the questions. So Katrina.
Would you like me to pop them up on the screen now?
Yes, please, if you don't mind.
Okay, let me go back.
Yeah,
Let me go back one. I always ask people as a warm up just to check that everyone knows how to get in and use it. So you know, we've got people from Scotland today, but we also, I know, had people registering from the United States of America. So as you saw there from Baz, we were looking to see if you currently use Microsoft 365. And the reason I'd raised my eyebrows there when I was sharing the screen was because you've got a 100% there. So guys, keep popping your answers in. I know we're just 6 minutes past now, but we usually get a few people running from a meeting to join us. But I think that would be fairly common though, Baz. It would be you know, fairly prolific across organizations and even with people's personal computers. So you're certainly dealing with an audience that at least have some access to the Microsoft products anyway.
It's been really interesting actually on that front. Over the years when we've been doing these webinars, we've seen that number creep up and now it's 100%. And I think that's probably due to the pandemic and the increased uptake of things like Teams. So that's really good to see. Thanks, Katrina.
That's definitely true. I think, you know, there's a lot of everyone talks about the digital transformation. Everyone always talks about that, but it has been an enabler for remote working. So I think, people are probably, maybe some people wouldn't even know what tools they had in the office. They're sort of vaguely aware we use Outlook or whatever, but definitely the last 18 months or so have made people tune in a bit more. So and Microsoft Power Apps, even for me, I would have said to you a year ago, no, I know what it is, but I don't have access. But I can say now for yes for that, because we have them. Some of them are already being enabled for us in our organization as well. So so look, everyone is. I'd nearly get someone just to say no, just to prove that it's actually working.
It's not
but I do think it's probably a bit more awareness, and probably the demos have helped to drive the awareness as well. Now there you go. Does your team use a recognized PPM or work management tool? Now that's an interesting one, because and even using myself as an example there, you know, we do use some free tools. I'll say Trello as an example, but we ourselves are looking more now towards our Microsoft 365 products, because obviously, you know, we pay to get those tools and those applications. So we want to use them as much as we can. So so you've got a 50-50 here with the, so I think that probably bodes well in terms of a demo today and showing people the solution. So it gives people a bit of an idea of what's involved. So I mean, those are the 3 questions. So thanks everyone for actually participating in that, because it's definitely given us food for thought. And it is interesting because when we ran this a year ago, there was a lot more no's when we asked people if they had Microsoft 365.
It was, but I think in light of the pandemic, people have recognized the need to get tools that enable them to collaborate. When they're doing hybrid working, people are generally working from home at the moment. I mean, you're at home at the moment, I'm at home. I think a lot of people that probably have tuned in are working from home. But it's amazing when people say that they don't have a recognized PPM solution. We've come across organizations that are running multi-million euro initiatives and programs and portfolios using nothing more than Excel and a bit of PowerPoint and a bit of sticky tape. So it's amazing what people use. People are very creative. But what I'm presenting today is very much a solution that's being built on Microsoft Power Apps. You can get it within Microsoft 365. So again, it's going to make a lot more sense when I demonstrate it. Whoops, I realized that I hadn't closed down Outlook and I was getting a lot of reminders popping up. So, okay, I'm going to share my screen again now.
I'll hand back to you whenever you're ready. Yeah,
thank you very much. So I'm just going to go and press the buttons. Share screen. Okay. And here we are. Okay, so my presentation will be popping back up any second now. There we go. So that was the mentee poll. So thank you very much, Katrina. So we are now. Sorry, what was that?
I was going to say thanks to everyone for giving us their input to that. So I shall hand back over to you now. So captive audience. We're all interested, myself included. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as Katrina signposted before, if you've got any questions, then do put them into comments, and we will be doing the Q&A session at the end.
Yeah.
So, right, we're going to take a look at the NextGen PPM solution, Power PPM, which, as I've mentioned a few times now, it's built on the Microsoft platform and it's available inside of Office 365. So let's talk about the nuts and bolts. And Power PPM I would describe as a very feature-rich solution that provides a lot of out-of-the-box capabilities that include the ability to strategically align and prioritize your projects, the ability to input budgetary and commercial information through the built-in financials app, which I'll be demonstrating shortly. You can also get access to a really powerful scheduling interface, which I would basically describe as the modern day Microsoft project, but available in the browser, in fact, within Power Apps itself. Power PPM also includes a risk log as standard. The full RAID suite is also something that's available. Governance within Power PPM is supported through dynamic workflows that we would configure using Microsoft Power Automate, the business process solution from Microsoft. You can also get KPI statuses across a variety of aspects, which again, I will be showcasing when I move on to the demo. The solution also supports the capture of ideas and other pipeline requests, and these items then can be scored and go on to be promoted into becoming fully fledged projects as well. Document management is something that's embedded and underpinned by both Microsoft Teams and by SharePoint. And within Power PPM, you can also define programs, and you can actually get access to the associated project timelines all in one place. And from there, you can even set up things like cross-project dependencies, which is quite handy. You've also got the ability to define portfolios and again, see all of the relevant information rolled up in one place, and that through Power PPM in Power Apps. Power PPM also comes with a suite of reports and dashboards which are visualized through Microsoft Power BI. Last but not least, stakeholders. They are, of course, very important to any project, and within Power PPM, you can access a stakeholders log, and there you can define stakeholder details, including the levels of influence and interest with regards to your specific initiatives. So that's Power PPM. That's what we're going to be looking at today. But the solution, which I think I might have mentioned before, it doesn't really sit alone. It does have a bunch of companion apps, which can either be used in conjunction with Power PPM, but you could also use them standalone as well. The first being Time for Teams, which enables people to register time against their projects and tasks. And this could be for work assigned through Power PPM, Microsoft Planner, Project for the Web, or even third-party solutions like Jira. Next, we've got Team Planner, which is an interactive resource planning solution that essentially allows project managers or other users to go in, request resources, and then team leads or resource managers can review the incoming demands and allocate named individuals for a given period against the requesting project. There's also Power Hub. So this sits in Azure, Microsoft Azure, and behind Power BI to effectively snapshot the data and to make it available for historical reporting, and importantly, to enable trend analysis, which is something that a lot of people do want to get access to. And lastly, for those individuals that must have reports presented to them in PowerPoint or Microsoft Word, we've got Present It, which simply outputs pre-formatted reports straight into PowerPoint or Word without any manual intervention. So it's a big time saver. So Time for Teams, Team Planner, and Power Hub is something that I'll be presenting in greater detail in the next session, which I think we talked about doing maybe in February. So please do register for that when it's announced. But if you do want to see all of these solutions in action beforehand, all you need to do is drop me a line using the details that are going to be coming up at the end of this presentation. Finally, to reiterate, this again, it's available in Microsoft 365. The solution that I'll be presenting in particular today, Power PPM, is underpinned by the Microsoft Power Platform. The solutions that I'm going to demonstrate in future, which are Team Planner, Time for Teams, Power Hub as well, they all sit within Microsoft Azure. But importantly, all of the data, all of the solutions, they sit in your Office 365, your Microsoft 365 tenant. So all of the data is where the rest of your Office 365 data resides. So that's going to bring me onto the demo now. This is going to be a high-level overview of Power PPM. So I'll be showcasing as much of the solution set as I can. Of course, we're only going to be able to scratch the surface based on the time that we have available, but it should give you a good taster of what is possible. So let me just fiddle about with my screens really quickly, and I'm going to go in and present Power PPM. So you should now be able to see the home page to my Power PPM solution. Katrina, can you see it?
I can. Yep, that's all up there on screen. Sandbox. Yep.
So this again is Power PPM, and like I said earlier, it sits within Power Apps and within your Office 365 tenant, as you can see there. So I've got the rest of my apps available. Now, getting rid of that waffle and that menu bar. Whoops, let me just click away again. There we go. So this is the homepage now to Power PPM, and the first thing you see are a bunch of tiles that enable me to navigate around. I can go in, look at my active initiatives, I can see my active programs, my ideas list, and again, a whole bunch of other things as well. Down the left-hand side, we pretty much see the same options, but it's presented in a static toolbar. What I'm going to do for now, though, is go straight into in fact, let me go into the active ideas. I'm going to let this load up. But this is essentially where you can go in, you can raise ideas, and we've already got a few ideas that have been initiated already. So if I go into edit one of these items, you can see, first of all, the names being displayed, the owners being displayed. You can also see what the budget ask is, or the estimate. You can also see the amount of benefit that we're looking to derive from this. So it automatically then calculates the return on investment, and it also links into a strategic driver. And here we've got one that's already linked to an active project because it's been approved. But if I go into edit, you will see that it's got a pretty simple form here at the beginning, but this can be expanded out. So if there's specific information you want to capture against your ideas or your pipeline demand, again, we can configure to suit. Saving and closing out of this, I'm going to then go, in fact, I'll go back to the welcome page, and from here, I'll go into initiatives. I could, of course, go into my initiatives there as well. The other thing I should point out is that the terminology that you see in this environment, it can be tailored. So rather than initiatives, you might call them campaigns, you might call them projects. So this can be set up to suit. Now, in this particular page, we're seeing a particular view showing me active initiatives, but we can go in and set up different system views. So if you perhaps want to see things that are maybe proposed or maybe on hold or postponed, whatever it might be, we can set up system views at a high level, but we can then also enable filtering and grouping on that particular data. And as well as allowing that, we can also determine in the views exactly what columns and what information is going to be presented back. So this is an illustration of what you might have, but again, this is not the limit. You can do a lot more. I'm going to minimize that menu on the left-hand side. So here I'm going to delve into a project. It's the Delta Flyer Ablative Armor. And a bit of a shout out to all of the Star Trek fans out there that might have picked up on that name from Star Trek Voyager. But there's a lot of Star Trek references throughout this. I don't know if it's permissible through copyright or not, but I've gone with it in anyway. So this is the Delta Flyer project, and I'm going to go into that now. And delving into this page, there's a lot that you can see being presented in front of you at the moment. And I'll talk through all of this in turn. So this is the project, it's the Delta Flyer. This along the top, in fact, right at the very top, you see some KPIs and information linked to the project. So you see who created it, and that would normally be the name of the individual. And you can see the percentage of it that's been completed so far, when it was last modified, and so on. And in fact, who modified it last, and it was all me. So Wellingtone Partner is my name in this environment. So here at the top, we've got a bit of a workflow that shows us the stage gate process linked to this specific project. And it's all interactive. So if I click into one of these stage gates, you can see there's a short checklist that we've had to complete. It's all ticked off in this example because it's been completed. But once I've done this, I can then press on next stage, and that would then fire off to the group of approvers or the approver for them to review and approve, hopefully, so we can move on to the next stage. But the workflows within this, again, they're all developed using Microsoft Power Automate, and they are fully dynamic. So if you go in and you want to run a project of a specific type, then that workflow would update to reflect that project type. In fact, it goes a bit further than that. So if we go into this form And let's say we put in a specific budgetary value that exceeds whatever the low threshold might be, and it becomes significantly more important, then dynamically we could update the workflow to account for that extra governance that's then required. This form, you see basic information being collected. This is customizable. So if there's specific information you want to collect, not a problem. We can also, in fact, we are pulling in some details here from the schedule. It's being picked up automatically. But at the beginning, you also have the ability to go in and select from different templates. And these templates are bespoke. So we would create these templates bespoke to your organization, to your department. So you might have multiple departments within any organization, but each has their own set of templates. So that's something that we can build in. Going to the top, we're seeing a bit of roll-up summary from the financials log. This is very high-level data because we've not really populated much into this. We've also got a status summary KPI section. So in this, I can either go in and set my own manual status, which is always green, or I could go in and set the individual KPI statuses across these aspects. This, of course, can also be configured. And rather than people, manually going in and saying, but it's all green, we can get the system to drive it. So depending on user input here, you can see that it updates accordingly, okay? In this, we've also got a business link section. So this is where we've linked to a specific portfolio. We've linked this project to a specific program, and we've also linked it to a specific driver. We have flexibility around this, but that is how we've got it set up in this specific environment. And because of time constraints, I'm not going to really go into the strategic part of this tool today, but that again is something that I would be more than happy to cover off offline. Looking at this, we've also got a collaboration section set up, all more important now, especially with hybrid working, the way that it's becoming more and more commonplace. So in here, I've got the ability to go in and create a Microsoft team. I've also provided a link to the Teams channel, and I've also included a link there to the SharePoint site, which is where we store the documentation. We've also got various checklist items down there, which I'm going to ignore for now. I should have mentioned this at the beginning. We've got various tabs that allow me to kind of cycle through the different aspects of this project as we can go through and populate this data as appropriate in each one of these sections. The next part that I'm going to go into is the all-important timeline, the schedule itself. So this is loading up. And I should point out that this is a scheduling engine. This is not a Microsoft project. This is not Microsoft project for the web. This I would describe as the modern day project that you would have normally on the desktop, but all within the browser, within Power Apps. Some of you might have seen Microsoft project for the web presented previously. I know that I've run a few webinars on that particular topic. This is similar, but it's more powerful. So this, I would say, is suited to the organizations that have larger, more complex projects. They need to be able to set up things like cross-project dependencies, and they need to be able to add more than 500 tasks within a plan. So there's a lot of functionality in this. We can go in, we can set up custom fields, custom columns. We can also tag tasks with different categories across them. It's all interactive though. So if I want to extend a task out, I can click, drag along. If I want to update the percentage complete, again, I've got the ability to go in and do that kind of thing. I can also go in, also add in things like lag. Cancelling out of this, I can also make this full screen if I want to get more detail on the page. And if I scroll along a tiny bit there, you will notice that I can also go in, edit my items. And this is where I can type things in. So I might want to change things like the start date, the end date. Might also want to indicate that it's a milestone. I can add users to work on this, specify how much work they've got to do on it as well. And we can also categorize. Ignore that terminology there, which is opgave, I think it's pronounced. That's Danish for task. But of course, this can also be in English as well. So yeah, you can drill down, you can do all of this. And this is the timeline purely at a project level. I will go in shortly and demonstrate this at a program level as well. But for now, I'm going to jump over to the next part of this project, the financials log. So a lot of organizations that I've worked with in the past and still work with now do currently use Excel to track their finances. Now that's okay because Excel is really, really flexible. and it's very easy to go in there, start working. However, it's not so easy to then roll that information up to the project level, to the program level, or the portfolio level. So it's very hard to report against it. And often with Excel, because it's not so easy to mandate a standardized way of working, each person will have a variation of things like a finance log. In this example, it is standardized. In here, we've already defined some categories and some subcategories as well. This can be tailored and configured to suit. We can allow people to add commentary against each one of these line items as appropriate. And in this particular view that I'm looking at the moment, I'm entering cost in on a monthly basis. So I'm putting in things like my budget, my actuals, and further down, I can even put in things like my forecast figures as well. This, of course, does all get rolled up to a grand total, as you see there. We can also go in and look at all of this information on a quarterly basis, as you can see there. So that's being rolled up quarterly, and here I'm looking at it annually. And something that you can also do is go in and configure different cost plans, maybe for different aspects of your project, and you can then cycle through them. Or you might have different versions of your cost plans, the initial one, the active one, and maybe then another variant in the future as well. Risks, issues, actions, all of those things, we can configure all of that. But here I'm presenting a risk log. So at the bottom, I've gone in and I've populated some risks. In fact, if I go in to add a new risk, I'll show you the form really, really quickly. So this is the form where you would go in, add a risk. This, of course, as I've mentioned with many aspects of this earlier on, is all configurable. I'm going to cancel out because I've already onboarded some risks. And bonus points if you spot the Borg. Again, another Star Trek reference there. And what we've done is we've scored them. So we've given them a impact score, a probability score, and they are then presented here on this matrix. We've only got 3 risks. Of course, the more risks you've got, the more this would come to life. And it then enables you to effectively cycle through and look at your individual risks. But going out to that, you will see that we have got 3 risks, and you see how they stack up red, amber, and green. In a very similar vein to that, we've also got a stakeholders log as well. So here at the bottom, I've defined my stakeholders, and I've given them different levels of influence and interest in this particular engagement, and you see them listed out on this matrix. So influence going up, is it high, medium, or low? And the same from an interest perspective. So if I want to look at the people that are maybe the most important stakeholders in this project, I click on that segment there, and it displays my name. And Benjamin Sisko, the commander of Deep Space Nine in Star Trek. So, okay, that is the stakeholders log. We've also got dashboards, requests for resources that we can also go in and do. What I'm keen to do, though, is just show you a very quick program view. So this is a list now of my programs, and you can see there's various columns displaying bits and bobs of information. But in the toolbox program, we see the sponsor. We also see the overall program status, but we can see which portfolio it tags into, and we can see how many initiatives fall under it. So if I go into the toolbox program, this again, very similar to what we've looked at so far. If I go now into the timeline, this is where it gets interesting, because what you're going to see, whoops, take that away, is this is the program, and then these are all of the sub-projects tagging into that program. So there's the 3 initiatives, and I can expand them out. And I could, if I had time, go in and start creating cross-project links simply by doing things like click, drag, and drop, and linking where appropriate. You can see the little thing going down there. So it's very easy to create those links. Of course, we can showcase that on a separate session, on a one-on-one demo as appropriate or required. For now, I'm going to go back to my main project. And although I'm not showcasing Team Planner today, you can go in, you can raise resource requests. And by the way, this is currently embedded, or you will see it embedded within the project itself. But we can also, here's a sneak peek, go into this and look at this as a standalone app here in Office 365. So this is where you put in your requests. I would, for example, go in and say, I need somebody that's a business intelligence person. Click, drag, drop that in. I can then type in how much time is required. The person that then owns the resources would see this kind of view, and they can go in and start assigning named individuals based upon the criteria that we've defined. But again, that was just a bit of a sneak peek, bit of a tease That will be presented on the next webinar, which again, I think is going to be in February. So that was a resource request. From here, what I'm going to do is jump over now to Teams. And within Teams, this is where you can set up different channels and you can embed things into here. So you can have your posts going on, your centrally shared file store. And of course, I would present something that has no data in it. But importantly, what I did want to demonstrate is the Power Apps time for Teams, for example, they can all exist as Teams apps. So here we are. This is Power PPM, the full fat solution, but it's all embedded within Microsoft Teams itself. So this is where a lot of conversations and collaborations now going on. So it's nice to see that this can be embedded within that same interface. Timesheeting, something that, again, I'm not presenting in detail today, but if I jump over to time, this is time for Teams. And this is where I would essentially go in, find my projects. I can then bring them into the timesheet display, and then I can report time against them. So that, again, is coming up in a future session. But for now, I'm going to jump over back to the rest of the demo. And actually, what I'll do is I'll jump over now to Power BI. So to put this into perspective, so far, I've shown you what we can do in Power Apps. And if I close out of this, I will show you that we have got access to a whole bunch of reports and dashboards in here as well. I am going to go back to Power BI in a moment, by the way, but within Power PPM itself, we've got a series of reports that we provide out of the box. These are all Power BI. They can all be configured, and I will go into some of these a bit later to demonstrate, but I'm going to go to a different reporting pack to illustrate the types of reports we can churn out automatically without any manual intervention, as long as people are going into the solution and, on a day-to-day basis or a weekly basis, just managing their projects as they would be expected to do generally. So in this, we've got a report that looks at strategic analysis. So overall budget, number of projects, how much we're looking to achieve in terms of benefits realization from a monetary perspective. We can see the average return on investment score. And again, you see how things stack up. Here we can see the importance of certain drivers, so the priority scoring, and we can also see how much we're proposing to spend against those particular drivers. Here we can also see the things stacked up from a benefits perspective, from a strategic score perspective. Of course, when things are in this kind of quadrant up here, they are more important and better aligned. So again, a lot of information being presented on this particular report. If I go into the next page, this is the portfolio dashboard. So this is where we see the initiatives being displayed. These are all interactive elements, by the way. So if I'm interested in all of the projects that are maybe in the discovery phase, I click on that segment there, and that acts as a filter and only displays the relevant data. If I click out of that, the other thing you can also do is go in and apply filters here at the top. So we can add on various options, but here we could specify again, which stage are we interested in? Are we looking at a specific portfolio? This is just an illustration. This is really, really flexible. Going ahead, we've also got a report looking at portfolio financials. Now, these financials are being captured within the financials log that I demonstrated earlier. And I'm going to preempt some of the questioning that might come up later. Can we integrate with financial tools like Microsoft Dynamics, with SAP or Oracle? The answer to that is yes. When we are using Microsoft Power Apps, you can get premium connectors that enable you to bring data across. And again, that's a wider conversation, but that is certainly possible. In fact, on the timeline perspective, or generally, people might be wondering, can we integrate with tools like Jira? Yes, you can. So there's a lot you can do. This is a report looking at the portfolio timeline. So we see the portfolio is broken down. We see the individual initiatives within them, and you can see when they start, when they finish, percentage complete, all of that information being presented. We also see the ideation. So these are the individual ideas that are being submitted, and you can see how they stack up from a scores and benefits perspective, how much you're looking to invest. You can see what themes they align to as well. So again, a lot of visibility around all of this data that's being collected. And that's something that organizations often struggle with. They're collecting a lot of data, but it's very hard for them to then summarize it and present it in a way that's easy to digest. And that's what we can do here through Power PPM and Microsoft Power BI. And in fact, I'm not demonstrating the Power Hub component here, but with that solution in the background, you can set up things like trend analysis. So how have things like red, amber, green indicators progressed over time? How's the budget evolved over time? So again, there's a lot you can do with that kind of solution. But again, this was a taster of some of the reporting that we can provide. I won't go through all of this report pack. It's largely similar to what I've presented so far, but let's go into the program status report pack. So you can expand this out. You can make this full screen so that it's easier to digest. But again, just a different flavor of the reporting. So using the same data set, but this might be for a different audience. They maybe want to see more detail. So we can produce, for certain audiences, very detailed reporting packs. For other audiences, something that's a bit higher level, maybe a bit more graphical in some ways. But we also have reports linked to Team Planner and the other solutions as well. But again, I'm not going to go into all of this today. That will be covered in the next section, or the next demo, I should say. But you can also get in touch with me if you want to get more information around anything that I've presented so far. But that does conclude the demo for now. So in terms of next steps, there's a few things that we could do. So if you wanted more of a tailored demonstration focused around your core objectives, just get in touch. We can set something up really easily. We can even set up actually trial environments if you were interested. That's normally in conjunction with a proof of concept, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But something else that I'm happy to provide you all with is a free envisioning workshop. So if you'd like to take a deeper dive, we can deliver this workshop. So it's an envisioning workshop, which we would use to look at your current ways of working, to understand the pain points, and to show you the art of the possible. The output from this session is typically a tailored implementation roadmap alongside recommendations for next steps. If you do want to see maybe your data in the environment, what we can offer typically is a proof of concept. That's whereby we would capture some of your requirements, we'd configure those in one of our demo tenants, and we'd play them back to you. But of course, if there's anything else you want to talk about, whether it's technology related, whether it's services related generally, then just get in touch. And these are my details now. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn, by the way. So you can either go in and search Baz Khinda. There's only one Baz Khinda on LinkedIn. I've searched multiple times. There's only one. You could scan that QR code using the LinkedIn app on your Android device, on your iPhone. And of course, you can drop me an email to baz.khinda@wellington.co.uk. I'd also encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn. We do share a lot of our articles on there, a lot of announcements around other upcoming events we might have going on. And of course, you can follow us, or you can follow our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Wellington PPM. And you can also subscribe once you're there to be notified of any videos that we are publishing. And just before we move on to the Q&A, something that we have launched approximately a week ago is the annual State of Project Management Survey. So it's something that takes between 5 to 10 minutes to complete. Anyone that takes part gets entered automatically into a prize draw. You can win some great prizes, and off the top of my head, my brain's gone a bit dry now, but I think it was Amazon vouchers, and we've got tickets to our future PMO annual event, which takes place, the next one's going to be in October next year. But again, you get entered into a prize draw, but importantly, you're helping give us insight into the project management maturity within your organization from a variety of aspects. And we then publish that in the free to access State of Project Management report. And the link to access it is also provided there at the bottom. And of course, this slide deck will be shared out. But Katrina, for now, I guess we're going to go into Q&A.